Hey guys, how's it going? Finally, at last, the TR8 review. I'm having a chance to do it. Very stoked about it. And playing with the kick drum here. As a matter of fact, let's do this. Shifting to part B. So we did a couple of tracks, or 3 tracks with this wonderful machine, and this is a review and I'm already calling it wonderful. So I wanted to wait a little bit with the review before I really judge it, and it's a wonderful tool. It sounds great to me. So I'm giving a lot away, sort of, but that's of course my opinion. But we got so caught up, jamming with it and making music with it, that it was kind of hard, to kind of like judge it, mentally. I'm going to try to do that now after the fact. So what's really nice about the TR8 is that it's very hands-on. Everything pretty much has a button and a slider, which is really great. So the way it's laid out, that you have, if you're in sequencing mode, which is the classic, Roland TR recording, TR rec, and here you select your instruments. It goes from bass drum to snare drum, low tom, mid tom, all the way to a ride cymbal, and the drum instruments are written down here. Now they change a little bit because it has an 808 mode, and it has a 909 mode, and then it has sort of an upgraded 808 mode, a modified 808 mode. And you can select kits, obviously, pre-selected kits. And in this case, for example, in this beat that we're doing here, this is the 808 kick. That's a 909. And remember, I did the X-Bass 09 videos, where sort of like a 909 close, where I really liked the drums. They had a raw feeling to it. I'm not sure if the TR8 is as raw in its kicks as the X-Bass 09, but then again, the X-Bass 09 didn't sound exactly like the 909. And I've seen some reviews online where they compare the 808 and the 909 compared next to each other each time to the TR8, and it sounds pretty close. But like I said again, that's not the main thing. It really needs to sound good, and it needs to be fun to work on, and it needs to make sense. So this is like the modified 808 kick. Now, once we got the kick selected, obviously, you can always play the instruments. There's a button called Instrument Play, and play them like this just to check out the sounds. I'm going to turn up the sound a little bit. There we go. And it's very, very, very smooth. So I'm going to give you a few here. And they click nicely. That's sort of like a 70s touch. And you can also play with the compression. It gets louder, gets compressed, and then the attack. And I really like with the 808 is that it has like that attack that you hear on smaller systems, but when you play it back on a bigger system, it gets a lot louder and thicker. And here's the decay. And I play that sequence back. Short. So when I'm checking out the bass drum, here's all my bass drum hits, right? And the nice thing is I can also set accents. So the accents are up here, And so you can now decide, I put the accent not on the 1, which is kind of typical, more typical in hip hop. I put it on the half note, after the 1. But you can do this. The more you turn this up, the more the 1 gets emphasized. Or we can just emphasize the 4, which is the 13 here. In this pattern, I chose this and a little bit of accent, not going out all the way. I'm going to shift to my A pattern. And I put it on the 1. Yep. So with the snare lip. Let's kill the kick drum for a sec. So then I also have that with reverb, where I can say which step is going to get reverb and which step is going to get a delay, which is kind of cool. And then if you go in kit, drum select kit, and then you press down reverb or delay, you can choose which instrument is actually going to get the reverb or the delay. In my case, I excluded the kick drum. And I excluded also the closed hat and the open hat and the right cymbal. Just a taste. There's no rules to it, but that's what I did. So kind of cool feature. Obviously, the shuffle. Let's check out the shuffle here really quick. Here's my closed hat and here's my open hat. Let me bring the kick back. Here's it all straight. As a matter of fact, to show that, let's bring down the tempo to 80. And the shuffle is about at 2 o'clock right now. Let's get rid of these claps for now. Get off the kick. There's a lot of kicks going on here. The nice thing is you can program this on the fly. It has an external input as well, which is here, and we can use that sidechain matter so that the external input triggers a sidechain compression and brings down the level of the other instruments, which is kind of very interesting. You can do some interesting patterns there, connect a guitar or a bass or something like that. The delay has 3 settings: level, time, and feedback. So let's see where our delay is set here. So the delay is on step 9, which is 1, 2, 3. So it's on the 3. Let's see what we got going on the 3. We know we excluded the bass drum on the 3. So we probably have the high tom is going to act a lot on the 3. So let's check this out. Can you hear it? So if I bring up the delay, there's some very interesting things there. Let's bring it on the mid-tom as well. Okay. Take it away from the 9. Speed the whole baby up. See how it sounds at 100. Reduce the shuffle a bit. Now it gets too much. So important to know here, so that the delay is not for one specific track, or the reverb, it is for the specific step in the sequence. Anything that falls on that step is going to get the reverb or delay treatment once it's activated. However, you can exclude certain instruments from that, which is kind of cool. You can do some some crazy stuff. This is the volume. It's kind of self-explanatory. The way I would probably operate is I would make sure that the bass drum is the loudest instrument in there, and the hats, closed hat, open hat, they're sort of like the softest, along with the right cymbal, depending on which sound you select. Speaking of which, earlier I showed you, for example, for the kick drum, which sound, I have 3 sounds. On the right cymbal, for example, I have 2, so it's not always 3. There's 3 on the hand clap. It's usually 3 or 2. Certain sounds, like the right cymbal, change completely based on the machine that they're emulating. So let me show you this one here. Let's go back on tempo again. Very smooth, by the way. There's no graininess. Yeah, and if I change it to this sound, that's the proper right cymbal from the 909. Right? So I'm not trying to program a specific beat here, more showing the features. And there's another feature, and I'm going to switch to my other pattern here. I'm going to go back to my original sound that I had, kind of like that. So one of the things, see, I like these small modulations. Unfortunately, the TR8 does not record these modulations at all. So you'd have to record them to audio, and I don't even think it puts them out to MIDI at this point. So unlike the X-Bass 09, which, from, I think, the late 90s, I was able to automate everything within the pattern. This is not possible here. Well, we'll just do it by hand. It's not a deal breaker for me. Then you have the scatter function. A preset, a little bit faster. I tuned it to 115, but using the kit that I constructed. And here's a scatter function. So it has a randomness to it, as you can see, and then you can change the depth of it. And I haven't really read up on it. What is supposed to do what, really. What the formula is, but pretty much here select the style and then the intensity. Pretty cool. You can also fine-tune the tempo, which is pretty cool. You can tap the tempo. And really quickly, an explanation of the sounds that you have: the bass drum, the snare drum, the low tom, the mid tom, high tom, rim shot, hand clap, close hi-hat, open hi-hat, crash cymbal, and right cymbal. So on the kick drum and the snare drum, you have 4 parameters. On the snare drum, it's called snappy. Let's play a little bit with the snare drum. Right here, instrument play, right? You can also select instrument record, by the way. You can record in real time. So there's no need to always use a step sequencer. Although it gets recorded in the sequencer and quantized, and it'll show up there. So I'm okay with, let's select this kick here. Let's stay on that, snare, and instrument play. Some people say the compressor doesn't do much on the snare, and I have to agree. It's more subtle. It's not as extreme, the changes, as, for example, on the X-Bass 09, but I like it a lot. Low tom as well has you can also control the decay and the tune, and so you have 4 parameters per instrument, and they change. Usually, there are 2 after the snare drum, you have two parameters per instrument, which is the tune and the decay. You can do a lot with that. You can really dial in the sound that you might like the most. What are the thoughts on the machine? The design. Okay, well, the design is sort of like retro here in my books, and then sort of like futuristic here, sort of with the green and everything lighting up in green. I like that a lot. I think it's almost like, contemporary, futuristic. And then we have these black dials that they're kind of a little bit flimsy. I wouldn't say bad flimsy. They're just thin and kind of smallish, let's say like early 2000s style. So this is a hybrid of three styles. They chose to do it like that. It's very light, the unit. I mentioned that in the unboxing. So would I have designed it a little bit differently? Would I like to see bigger knobs here and buttons? I might as well sort of mimic the original and give it some nice retro buttons here and follow sort of this, it's a microphone cable, and follow this layout. But okay, it's always easy to say that in hindsight. The price is not too high. I think the price is very reasonable. I'm going to show you in a little bit the USB DAW integration, which is critical in this day and age. It works really flawlessly. And then we have our outputs back there. We have 4 outputs, which is great. We have 2 inputs, and then we also have a headphone output and a USB connection. So pretty cool. Nothing gets stored or managed. There's no operating system, as you can tell. Big bonus in my book. If you override a pattern, it's overwritten. There's no undo function. If none of these slider functions here, you have to rebuild them by memory for each track, for each pattern. If you change anything, this controls it in essence. So whatever you see here is what you get. There's no knob that you have to pick up where you say, the level is down here and your slider's up there. If the slider's down here, the slider is down here, no matter where you go. So very instant. You do have a clear function where you can clear a pattern. Big thing that is missing is when you have 2 patterns here, right? Pattern A. Variation, I should say, for one specific pattern, and you have B. And that's great, and you can play them at the same time so that they cycle, right, between A and B. But what it doesn't let you do, it doesn't let you copy when you program the same pattern. I'm programming something in A, and I want to sort of like feed off of that and not start from scratch, just do a slight variation or make it longer. So I have 32 steps, 32 16th notes basically pattern. I can't do that. I can't copy from here to here. I think a future operating system should definitely fix that. Other than that, if you're into drum machines, you definitely should have a look at it. So let's have a look at the DAW integration.
And what review of the TR8 would be complete without looking at software integration? We all record in Logic and Cubase, Pro Tools, in this case Ableton, and how do we get the sounds from the TR8 into our DAW so that we can then chop it up and manipulate it or archive it? What else not? Well, we could run, there's 4 outputs for the machine. We could run 4 outputs into the audio interface, and that's still a good way to do it. But there's also a USB connection, so it acts as an audio interface. And I've tested that, and it works very, very well. Very, very few glitches. I haven't seen any, really. So the way this is structured, and I did a little template here, and you can have that if you need to, if you don't feel like doing it yourself. Bass drum comes in. So it's a 14-in, 4-out audio interface. That means there are 14 inputs that are being sent to the computer, 14 different ones from the TR8, from the insides of the TR8, so to speak, and 4 outputs, which is 2 stereo outputs. So the bass drum would come in here. Let me switch to instrument play. So this is a little bit too loud here. Right, so this is comes in on channel 3, snare drum on 4, low tom, which let me turn up everything. You're following with, and so it goes, low tom, medium tom, high tom. Then we get the rim shot, hand clap, closed hat, open hat, crash cymbal, and right cymbal exactly in the order that the TR8 sends it. And then external audio, that is the last one, that's number 14. That would be the external input. And I'm actually talking to you through this external input. I'm running a channel strip, microphone preamp, what else? Microphone directly into the Roland. And that works fairly well. In fact, I'm not using any other audio interface at this point. I'm listening to my iTunes through the Roland, just for desk space, but mostly to try it out. Now, there's a couple of things. So let's first see how that works in reality. I'm going to switch to the arrangement window here in Ableton, which is sort of like most other arrangement windows. And Ableton's on the right-hand side, Logic on the left-hand side, and so forth. So all the tracks are enabled, and I could just get started here by starting to record, and it's going to trigger the sequence. It's going to trigger the Roland to sync with it. I set it up that way. Nothing's coming in, so now we're slowly bringing in the kick drum. Right? Oh, I'm clipping. My bad. My bad. I do that. I have a tendency of doing that. Kick drum is always the strongest. Right? Let's reduce the shuffle. I'll bring it back just a little bit. And then change the programming. That's good. You can do that in real time. And see how that immediately changes the kick here. Right? Up there. And one thing you have to know now is see the right cymbal here is, I'm not bringing that up very loud, so it doesn't record at full level. So the recording is tied into how strong your fader is up. So for proper recording, to make sure you print everything, get everything on tape properly. I say on tape, of course I mean digital. The most bits for your buck, as they say. I'll probably keep an eye on the meters, but make sure you get a strong enough signal. The right cymbal, which is that. It's just not very loud. That's as loud as I'm getting it here. Not much I can do about that. But it should be enough. All right, so let's go back to the arrangement window, and we recorded quite a bit. Now, the thing that you may want to think about is, let's say something is not, pardon me, I will rephrase that. You also have, in disregard to CAN bus, it should actually be, you're going to rename this to main out or stereo out, right? Stereo. Yeah. So this is 1 and 2. This is where basically the whole drum machine mix comes out. That can come in also very handy. So we relabel that to main out. That come in also very handy, because here's the entire drum machine, a stereo output basically that runs in here. If you don't feel like you want to record separate parts, you have one loop that sounds great. Just thinking about throwing a compressor on it and some EQ, that's probably the easiest form. The way we do it here, and that's what I like about this integration, is that we can have separate tracks, 14 tracks. It's really great. I'm even recording, as you can see, my voice over here, even that got recorded. So let's play that back really quickly. And it's going to trigger the Roland again, because the Roland is in sync. So I'm actually going to lower all the output so it's not playing. Then I set it up that way. Nothing's coming in, so now we're slowly bringing in the kick drum. And one thing you have to know now is see the, you heard that before, so I'm going to turn that off. And of course, now you can go in there and you can make your edits, you know. I changed here the the algorithm, but that might be too much of an Ableton function. So let me show you really quickly how this works in preferences, right? So preferences, in preferences, 14 in, 4 out. So I selected audio input device and audio output device, the TR8. It runs at 96 kilohertz. I think that is great, but it's also a limitation. If you look at that, we use so many tracks here just for a short snippet. Imagine you do like a 10-minute jam times 14 tracks or times 10 tracks at 96 kilohertz. That's a lot of data. 48 kilohertz is perfectly fine for recording those type of frequencies. It's great to know that Roland operates internally at 96 kilohertz, but they should update their drivers so that people can change that. Let's talk about MIDI really quickly. So for syncing purposes, when you look at output, you want to make sure that sync out is on so that the Roland TR8 receives a sync from your DAW. In this case, Ableton, could be Logic, what else not? Cubase, Fruity Loops, receives that MIDI clock and starts. When you press play here, Roland starts marching with it. What's it's still not sending out, it does not send out control messages for all the parameters, tuning, decay, compressor, all these things are not being transmitted. I heard that they can be received, but you have to play around with it to find out what parameter that is. That has not been made clear by Roland. That feature is not really there. That would have been so nice, if you can record things like that into the pattern. You cannot. You have to print it to audio. You can do it in real time and then record it as audio, but you can't record it as MIDI, nor can you record it into the Roland sequence. I think that's a necessary update for the software, for the driver, that Roland should do. Other than that, it works very, very stable. I didn't have any glitches. The other day I was working with the Virus TI2 Polar. Great device. Awesome sounds, but the software implementation was not there. It would stop playing once in a while. You had to local on, local off wouldn't work. The audio interface part wouldn't work well, so you had to route it into another audio interface. I had to actually route it through the Roland TR8, which held up pretty well as an audio interface in that scenario. So I wasn't happy with that. They did something very solid. So I think for sampling these great sounds, for working as a pattern sequencer and then sampling it, this is just great. So some limitations in functionality and features in the DAW integration, but still very workable. I'd rather have that and stable than something with billions of features and works half of the time. That is my verdict on this part of the Roland TR8. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope that this is Ableton does not distract you. In essence, works the same with on the Mac or the PC. The Roland TR8 is being recognized as an audio interface. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye.